Yeah, we're going to continue talking about Sanat Kumara. Last week we talked about how he was kind of a divine rebel, and we mentioned that he came from Venus with 105 or 104 Kumaras, 105 including him, and this event took place 18 million years ago. But he's been here but much longer than that. It was 18 million years ago that he incarnated into what he calls a physical body. Now, when you got to read carefully when the Tibetan talks about a physical body, because he's often referring to the etheric physical, because in the physical, there are seven sublevels of the physical realm. There's only three that we see with our physical eyes, which is solid, liquid, and gaseous. And that's what we can perceive with our senses. But above this, there are four other levels of etheric matter. And he incarnated in the etheric matter, which is above what we can see, but it's called the physical, but it's still the physical realm. And then above the physical, we have the astral, and that also has seven different levels. And then the next step up is the mental, and that has seven also, but there's four lower, no, three lower and four higher, if I remember right. It's divided into two different levels, higher and lower mind. And then all of the seven levels of the together compose what is called the cosmic physical plane. And this is actually the lowest. There's seven cosmic levels. So the Sanat Kumara, his consciousness is in the astral cosmic plane, and so his attention isn't even on the physical plane as far as his actual consciousness. And so this creates a barrier between him and Shambhala and the lower realms. It makes it difficult for us to contact them. Even the spiritual hierarchy, the Christ and the hierarchy, have a barrier between them and Shambhala, just like we have a barrier between us and the Christ and the hierarchy. There are resistance, interference, so to speak, between us and the Christ and his hierarchy. If we want to contact them, we have to transcend the barriers between us and their level. And the same thing with the hierarchy and the Shambhala and the Lord of the world. There's barriers between them, and they have special agents, just like the what we consider the heavenly realms, which is the Christ consciousness. We have sometimes we have visitation of angels and higher beings appearing to us in dreams and different things, and these make a connection between us and the what we consider the heavenly realms. Well, higher than that is Shambhala, and there's barriers between the heavenly realms and Shambhala, and they're what they call the higher correspondence to angels. There are beings called Nirmanakaya, and they go in between Shambhala and the earthly realms, or not. I mean the hierarchy. They go between, oscillate between, and bring messages and intelligence. And we're told that one of these entities that do this is the Buddha, uh, who's who is set to be replaced by another entity. That's another story. Okay, so in talking about Sanat Kumara, a very interesting character as presented in Theosophy and the teachings of Alice A. Bailey, where we're putting most of our attention on this. But he actually came to this planet in its second globe, it says, but he did not incarnate. And so he has participated as the planetary logos. Now, he's often, when the writings talk about the planetary logos, it sounds like Sanat Kumara is the logos itself, but he's not. He's actually overshadowed by the logos. This earth has three beings that participate in its consciousness. The highest is what is called the planetary logos itself. It's the entity that actually has incarnated as using the earth as its body. Now look at yourself, for instance. Your body, your physical body, as you can see it in a mirror, and that's like that's what you have incarnated in, and you are like the logos of your body. Okay, but there's an entity like that for the entire earth, who has incarnated into this planet, and it is his body. Okay, now Sanat Kumara is not actually incarnated into the earth, but he's a very advanced individual whose consciousness is in the cosmic physical. His consciousness is so high, it's beyond our physical, beyond the astral, beyond the mind, beyond the what we consider the formless worlds. It's way up there. And then there's another layer of creation much higher. So all these 7 layers of creation compose one creation, which is called the cosmic physical. And then above that, everything duplicates again, goes to the cosmic astral. So the Sanat Kumara, his consciousness is on this cosmic astral, very high being. But the logos that's incarnated in the earth is even higher than him. Its consciousness is on the cosmic mental. So the entity in charge of the earth is a very high being, but there's one particular entity that oversees this incarnation, but there's billions of lives that are at play that produce the whole thing. Just like in your body, you are the main entity that is in charge of your body, but within your body, there are trillions of lives. I think there's like something like 30 trillion cells in your body. Each one of them is a little tiny individual life. And then we have greater lives in your body. You have organs. Your liver has a life essence of its own. Your kidneys do, your brain, your eyes. You have, and also the etheric centers. You have 7 centers up the spine and in the head. And these are composed of numerous smaller lives. So you, as an entity, are in charge of millions or billions and trillions of tinier lives that make up you. But you just are lucky enough or advanced enough, have been through trillions of years of evolution to arrive where you are, that you can be in charge of the whole body. And this is the situation with the planetary logos. There is an entity that is far advanced from us that is in charge of the whole planet. Okay. Now, Sanat Kumara is a very advanced being that is overshadowed by the entity that is incarnated into the planet Earth. So he's just like one with the planetary logos. He's advanced enough that he can share consciousness with the planetary logos itself. And he also shares a lot of consciousness with the solar logos. The entity that occupies the sun is by far the most advanced entity in our solar system. And each one of the planets is a part of his entire body. Okay, so he's actually Sanat Kumara is overshadowed by the logos, and in the esoteric writings, it sounds like he is the logos a lot of times because he's one with the logos. He's sometimes identified with the planetary logos, but technically he is not the planetary logos, but he's overshadowed by it and one with it.
In some places, he's called the personality of the logos.
That's right, he is. And the Tibetan even talks about him. He says that he is the logos, but he's not. Let me find that exact quote here. He says, Sanat Kumara is the planetary logos, yet he is not. It's from Treatise on Cosmic Fire. So anyway, it's interesting. Now, speaking of Sanat Kumara, let's find out a little bit about him. In ancient times, it was always thought, and among many people into magic today, they feel if they can get the name of a celestial being, they can obtain power because of that name. And a lot of these people, especially in the black magic and things, they get these deva type entities they try to commune with, and if they can get their name, they can get their attention and have power over them. And this is the name of these supernatural entities has been a really big deal throughout history, and it was in the days of Moses and ancient Egypt. And Moses, after he left Egypt, spent 40 years in the wilderness, had a lot of time to contemplate, and he must have thought a lot about a connection with God, because after 40 years, he finally had the big revelation. And when he finally had the opportunity to talk to God and ask him a question, what was his question?
What is your name?
Right. Why did he want to know his name? It's because the ancients thought if once you have the name of a spiritual being, you have certain power in connection with that name. You can share that power, or you can even have power over that entity to a certain degree. So with like deva entities, the belief was you get the entity's name, then you can command him to do whatever you want. Okay. And that has certain truth with the Deva entities, because there's two types of entities in this universe. There's reactionary entities and action entities. Anybody tell me what you think the difference is between the two?
One is involutionary and the other evolutionary.
Yeah, that's true. Now, what they call the Deva entities are entities when they're contacted, they just follow instructions. They react.
A
So,
genie in the jug.
right, right. That's kind of a pattern after that, the genie. You contact the genie and you give it a command and it has to obey. And this is their entity. There's a lot of entities out there that when contacted, they just want to know what you want and they have to obey. And that's how they evolve, by reacting to higher intelligence that tells them what to do. So these are entities that react. And if you get the name of one of these entities, then you can have power over that entity. And this is the way that black magic gets its power, and the way the Dark Brotherhood gets their power is they get the names of various entities and give them commands. Uh, that's the way voodoo works also. And so, but the Brotherhood of Light, if you're in the light, there's ways to protect yourself from those people that send these entities on a negative mission. And then there's the higher evolved on the path of evolution. There's action entities, entities with free will that can make a decision and then proceed according to that decision. The entities on the evolutionary side don't have that power of decision that we humans have. We have the power to make a decision and then follow through with it and then proceed to create something. We don't have to sit around and wait for somebody to command us to do something. But there's a lot of people that do pretty much sit around and don't do anything unless somebody tells them what to do, you know. But so the more we evolve, the more we get into being initiates. So we can initiate and be in charge of our own destiny. And we see this division with the people of the planet, that there are a lot of people that don't do anything until somebody tells them what to do. And they still have some power to initiate, but they're not like the Deva kingdom, which has to be told what to do. But there's a lot of humanity closer to that than they should be. All of us should be thinking and creatively about what we can do to improve our life situation. So anyway, Moses wanted to know the name of God because the name of God reveals a lot about that entity. You notice in ancient times, everybody that received a name, the name had a meaning behind it. Like David meant beloved, and he was said to be close to God's own heart. Joseph meant added upon, which means that he had a destiny to have great wealth, which he did. He became the wealthiest man in the world when he prepared for the great famine. And but Abraham means father of a nation. So the names, people name people according to what they expected them to be. And same thing with the Indians. You know, the Indians have names like Running Bear because the person looked like he run like a bear or whatever, you know? Or Dances with Wolves or whatever, you know. That a lot of the ancients name people because of the meaning, and Moses wanted to know. Now, most of us wouldn't be that way. Most of us would say, if we had an interview with God, would say, well, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? But Moses wasn't thinking that way. He wanted to know, what is your name? And God said to him, literally in the Hebrew, it reads, I am becoming that I am becoming. Or it's translated, I am that I am, which isn't a very good translation. But in the immortal, I give the translation. What it was supposed to mean was, I'm becoming that which I decide to become. Go tell Israel that he who is becoming has sent you. In other words, God said to Moses, if I give you a name, it will not have eternal meaning, because I am becoming that which I decide to become. And that which you call me today may be different than that which you may call me tomorrow. But every entity does have a name of some kind. And concerning Sanat Kumara's name, DK says this: the name Sanat Kumara is not his true name. It is only the first letter of that name, which is known only to the masters, while the second letter is known only to the Kohens. The Kohens are entities that are more advanced than the typical master. The first syllable of his name is known in the council chamber at Shambhala, but the rest of his name is unknown as yet. Well, it's pretty interesting. So Sanat Kumara, it says, is the first letter. How can now Sanat Kumara has what about 10 letters in it or so? So that's why does he say the whole name of Sanat Kumara is a letter? Got any idea why he says that? And you also might want to look at the way he talks about words. He talks about words of power, but often when he talks about words, a word is not just a word as we know it. And esoterically, a letter isn't just a letter as we know it. All of creation is one word esoterically. And then parts of creation are other words. And Ed, who I'm looking at on the screen here right now, he's a word. And so the same thing with letter. A letter esoterically isn't just a letter, but a letter would be a thought. So what is the thought behind the name Sanat Kumara? Any idea what it means? The name itself comes from the Sanskrit, which means eternal youth or forever young. So in other words, the first letter of his name is the thought that you can be eternally young and have life eternal. That is the thought. So when you appeal to the first letter of the name of Sanat Kumara, you think eternal youth, eternal vitality, eternal renewal, that there is no death. And then the second letter, it doesn't tell us what that is. And even in Shambhala, they don't know his full name. So there must be some vulnerability or something or maybe too much power released if an entity like Sanat Kumara gets his full name released to other entities that are not as high up the level as he is. Uh, so they're very cautious about giving out the names, just like when Moses encountered God, God was pretty evasive in giving out any name because perhaps that would have given Moses more power than Moses could handle. So now each of us also has a name. Your higher self has a name, and if you're ever in touch with your higher self, seek out what that name is, because that will give you more power to contact your higher self. You can call your higher self by its name. And if you don't know the name of your higher self, then just create one in your imagination. You think, what sounds good for the name of my higher self? And if the name Charles sounds good, well, we'll go with Charles. And then start using that and talk to your higher self. Hey, Charles, how you doing? I got a question for you, or I'd like your assistance on this. And if your higher self doesn't like that name Charles, you're associated with it, and he may wind up giving you a correction, and then you may change the name to something actually closer to what the name really is. And then also, in association with the name of your higher self, you want to focus on the thought. What is the main thought that makes you different from every other entity in the universe? Okay, so like the name David means beloved of God. So in that's probably from his higher self. His higher self really focuses on being one with God and wanting to share the love of God. And so, and that was a name given to David by the, I believe, Revelation. So that was probably connected to his higher self. Now, his lower self did some things that were not very beloved, but in the higher realms, his higher self maintained that connection of being called the beloved. So focus on you. What do you think the thought behind your true name is? Is it associated with love, light, power? That's one thing. It'll be associated with one of those three things: light, love, or power. Which one kind of do you feel more drawn to? Do you feel more drawn to light, love, or power? And we can appreciate all of them, but each of us will be associated with one of those three more than the others. Then let's suppose it is love. There's love, the love aspect. There's more people associated with that than the others. So let's pick love here, and Emmanuel here is a loving fellow, and so if I would suspect he's gravitates to that one. So what is there about love that what aspect of it, what about love makes you unique in your relationship to it? What do you think, Emmanuel? What kind of thought about love are you?
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's the exact one that I was picking. But for me, I just feel like because I'm so fortunate that I experienced being alone in my household a lot. My parents really weren't there for me. I got bullied a lot, when I was a kid. Like, and I'm grateful for all those experiences. So I feel like I want to give love to the downtrodden person who's feels alone, feels bullied, beats themselves up, and it's almost the and unfortunately, I feel like our biggest bully is ourselves. So it's almost like I want to save people from themselves. So that's the way I look at love is like telling them that there's another way of treating yourself that would be more beneficial for your spiritual growth.
Now, your actual name is a pretty spiritual name, Emmanuel. That means what? God with us? Is that right?
Yeah, and the more I looked into that meaning too, I didn't really understand the full meaning of it until later on in my teenage times. But is almost like even a better translation would be like God is among us, which is kind of reminds me because whenever I think of the first way that you said it, I always think of it like, well, yeah, of course God is with us. It's a very fluffy feeling. But when I think of God is among us, I feel of like Jesus coming down and showing and exemplifying it more. And like he was an example of God's love.
And focusing on the aspect of love too. You could even say Emmanuel means love is with us
Hmm.
because God is love, right?
Hmm.
So that's pretty interesting. So now, is Manuel your real name that you were given at birth?
Yeah, and my father's name is the Spanish version of it, which is interesting, which was Manuel, and I'm Emmanuel. And but it's only spelled with one M because I feel like the two M is way up there. But also my middle name is also Francis from and my mother was a big fan of Saint Francis of Assisi.
Oh, that's pretty good combination of names you got going there. Well, no wonder you're doing everything you can to tread the spiritual path because names are very important. Matter of fact, names are very much associated with numerology. Each name has a number that you can take the letters of your name and add them into a number, and then the number gives you meaning. And that's why you see a lot of these stars with their names are spelled kind of odd because they changed their spelling on purpose because it made the numbers more harmonious for what they wanted to accomplish. And I notice a lot of people with spiritual names like Emmanuel and so on actually change their name, but you didn't change it. You got that at birth, so that's a good sign that you really strongly identify with with that name, and you I can see you trying to uh, uh, contact that God that is within you and the love that is within you, and you share it. So you are living the thought behind your name. So we have another character here with a really strong biblical name, Adam Clayton. Um, what made your parents decide to name you Adam, Adam? Did they ever tell you?
Well, they're Mormon, so they're pick 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 a biblical name, I guess. I mean, firstborn. I was the firstborn son.
Okay, Adam was the firstborn of humanity, and you're the firstborn in your family, huh?
Firstborn son, anyway. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask my mom.
Yeah. What do you feel about your name? Are you happy that you're named Adam? Do you
I
feel
am now. I didn't
associated with
like it.
that name?
I am now. I didn't like it when I was little, actually.
Really? Did you get kidded about it or something? Or
Yeah, it was probably more just self-consciously. I mean, yeah, I guess a little kidded once in a while, but yeah, just the association with the Bible was I found that embarrassing. initially.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Ooh, Adam and Eve, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're a pretty strong initiator. You're always thinking of new things to implement, which Adam kind of initiated the human race. So you've got big steps to follow in, I guess.
I'm gonna initiate my own species.
Yeah, right. Okay, looks like we were running over time here. Is there any other comments anyone wants to make on names before we?
Well, our soul tries to impress our parents with the name at once, but oftentimes, if the parents don't get it right, the person will not like that name and later on change it.
Yeah, Sharon, who was in the group who passed recently, she wrote 3 or 4 books on names. And she's always had a fascination with names. And her parents named her Sharon. And she just felt that was not her name. And she thought about that a lot. And then she saw the name Sharon written with a accent mark on that was pronounced Sharon instead of Sharon. And she said, "Oh, that's my name, Sharon. My parents just missed it a little bit." And so she was really happy to be called Sharon after that. And whenever I emailed her, I'd make sure I put that accent on that O, or she would be disturbed. She did not like to be called Sharon. She wanted that Sharon. So I always had to make sure I had put the accent on her O whenever I messaged her in any way. But she was an interesting character.
In the Hebrew pronunciation, that's how we say the name, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the regular pronunciation in Hebrew, that name, Sharon.
She was
Yeah.
probably, wasn't there prime minister named Sharon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was. Well, that was his family name. His first name was Ariel,
Yeah.
and family name Sharon. Ariel Sharon. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, well, maybe Sharon was a Hebrew in a past life and had that name. And
She also, her mother was Jewish, so she was Jewish.
really, oh,
Yeah.
so she had roots in the Hebrew. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, well, interesting comments. Anything else anyone wants to bring up?
Call me Cortisa.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, there's a lot of energy in the way your name is pronounced. So I can see that Sharon is a more powerful name than Sharon.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's fitting for her. Okay. Well, think about your names for this next week. And we will continue to talk some more about Sanat Kumara and the Kumaras themselves as we continue here. And in the meantime, may the Spirit be with you.
How?
And also with you, JJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
Spirit is with us.
Yeah.